Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Mortal Kombat 11 SHAO KAHN from McFarlane Toys. Now, they have been really hit or miss with most of their figures lately, but especially with the Mortal Kombat line. Some of them have been fantastic. Some of them have been some of the best figures we've seen in a long time, and then others have been really, really bad. As you might guess by looking at this one, it's going to fall somewhere in between because there's some really nice stuff on it. But there are some things that are definite issues that we're going to have to talk about. So let's go ahead and get this guy off the stand and take a closer look. And this guy stands to the top of his head about 20 centimeters, more like 19 and a half. And that's not counting these things at the top here. And that's going to make him just about, let's say, 7 5/8 inches. And that's going to be a pretty tall figure compared to your average 7-inch tall figure. Obviously, 7-inch scale, that's what people say. That's not really, that's whatever. Okay, so here's my question of the day before we get into the review. What version of SHAO KAHN is your favorite? Also, if you say the movie live action version, you are wrong. But let's go game wise. Which one is your favorite? I don't know which one's mine. I really like the armor on this one, but I'm not a huge fan of his body, the way they did it. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn. But I really like the armor on this guy right here. Love it. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetic on this. So obviously the sculpt is really nice as usual. McFarlane almost always nails the sculpt. There's lots of nice details. You can see even in the back here, there's nice texture, like a cracked leather texture. The wrinkles are all sculpted well. We have this little furry thing going around his waist and around the sides here. That's very nicely done. More wrinkles, all kinds of detail work. There's texture in the skin. This armor is very intricate. Lots of detail work here. The head, very nicely sculpted. Texture just about everywhere. You can see he's got his little spikes on his arms. Everything is just loaded with texture and detail, so the sculpt, I'm going to consider it phenomenal. It's really, really good. The paintwork, on the other hand, while it's clean and nice in some places, like down here on his loincloth, the detail work for the face is very nicely done. The eyes are in there. I don't know how well you'll be able to see those on camera because of the shadows, but very, very clean paintwork for the detail type stuff. However, they screwed up his skin significantly. He doesn't have any of the right detail he's supposed to have on his skin, and you can see over on this side, he just has big brown color blocks, which is not what he's supposed to have. He's supposed to have almost like a tiger stripe, like, not really a tiger stripe, but like a vein, like, that's not a great way of describing it either. It doesn't look like that. I'll try to find an image and post it, but we just have big color blocks on his sides. His arms just have kind of some shading there. His legs have big color blocks again. That's not what he's supposed to look like. And then here's the thing that really drives me nuts is all of the leathery parts, his boots, the straps on his knees, it's all just the same color as his skin, almost, and only some parts are slightly darker, but nowhere near enough. He's very weirdly colored. That's supposed to be dark brown. This part here, it's supposed to be dark brown. The straps are not supposed to blend in with his legs. It's really weird how they made all of the browns. Like even up here you can barely tell that strap is painted. It's very strange. These guys are not as dark as they should be. Very, very weird that they did that. So that throws off the look of the figure quite a bit. Luckily though, the armor does save it and pull it back, and the detail work is clean. That head's gonna save just about any figure, at least to some degree. It's very well put together, very well done. And again, the armor is too. So I'm gonna, unfortunately, despite how bad the paint job is for some things, I'm still gonna bring it up to a 7 out of 10 because some of it is exceptional and the sculpt is really good. So aesthetically, 7 out of 10. For accessories, we get the Mortal Kombat display stand, and then we get his hammer, which is really nicely sculpted and nicely painted, so that's pretty awesome. That's it. No fist hands, just the 2 trigger finger hands for holding his hammer, so a very generous 5 out of 10 for accessories. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the articulation. The head, you might have guessed it, doesn't have a ton of range given all of the armor and everything, but it's on a double ball peg, and it actually works surprisingly well. You're going to be able to get plenty of posability out of that. It's amazing how well double ball pegs work. It's almost as if somebody's been saying that all along. No, it does work nicely. Even with the armor, you can make him look down. He can look up well enough, obviously side to side, and you get those really nuanced poses where it's not just straight up and turned. You can lean the head down a little bit, tuck the chin, cock the head to the side. You can do all kinds of posing that you can't do with most joints with a double ball peg. It's very, very nice, and they did that there, so that's good. Shoulder pads are somewhat flexible, but mostly not. Arms have a little bit of play on that ball peg that connected to the torso, but otherwise it's just your standard ball hinge. You can raise the arm up a little bit better than horizontal on that side, and on this side, this gets in the way instantly, so you can't really do much. That is connected to the bicep, so that's a nice touch. It's just too much armor going on. Not much they could do about that, unfortunately. Bicep swivel does work on both sides, of course. Double jointed elbow works nicely, no problem. You're gonna bump into things before the range stops working. I don't know why they did this. This is one of the ugliest ways to do a joint ever, and they did it. It's very cavernous. I don't know why. There's no reason, because it's not like the elbow even tucks in. Look, it doesn't tuck. It just butts up against. So if anything, that should just be flat. It shouldn't have a hole. Like, it shouldn't be concave all the way around here. So that's a very ugly elbow joint. It is effective though, so I'll give them some credit there. Obviously the ball hinge wrists are going to be perfectly usable if you can get the joints to move. Mine are very stiff. Mine won't go. There we go. There you go. So a lot of people say, well, if it's stiff, use hot water. And that's true generally, but things like the joints themselves, those are made out of hard plastic, and hot water won't really do too much. So be aware, hot water is for fixing PVC, almost exclusively on action figures. You'll get some results on other plastics, but it's mostly just for the softer PVC that the limbs and, well, depends on the figure, but almost always limbs are PVC. Alright, so for the torso we have what is probably a double ball peg. You can see that weird color block paint job again. Just doesn't really make sense. So you get your rotation up there if you want. He can lean back pretty well. His stuff does bump into him though, so that's going to be limiting his vest and skirt. But can't lean forward again. I don't know why they don't want things to lean forward, but they don't at McFarlane Toys. You cannot lean forward over there. Side to side is limited, but it is there. All around, it's just a ball peg down here, double ball peg up here, but it's relatively limited for what it could have been. It'll be good enough for some poses, nothing too dynamic though. This is all flexible stuff. Let's see how the legs work. I haven't tried this yet. Let's see. Now you're gonna get it about that high without really straining. So that's that. Going backwards, yeah, no backwards, and going out to the side, yeah, it's good enough. It's about 45 degrees. It's not great, but it'll do. Again, not the best articulation. There's a little bit of thigh swivel going to the inside. Going outside, though, you can't do it, which is weird because that's what's more useful. It's very rare that you need somebody to be able to, like, do the pee-pee dance. You're most likely going to be wanting to rotate their leg out this way to bring their leg across for, like, a kick or something like that. So anyway, you can do the pee-pee dance with him, so that's a good thing, I guess. Double jointed knee does work nicely. It's a little chunky and blocky looking, but you get really nice range, so that's fine. And then lastly, almost lastly, not quite lastly, ankle's a ball hinge. It's not quite big enough. It looks weird. The bigger the ball hinge, the better it looks and the better it functions. But you do get good range out of it, so that's good. Obviously, you get a full-on ankle rocker if you want that, so that's good. And then the toe hinge is not a bad toe hinge. It's almost far enough forward. It's kind of there, and I guess it's close enough. But it's also fairly stiff, that's what she said. It'll work mostly. It's not going to really hold his whole weight, but it will work for some poses. So as far as toe hinges go, that's okay. I would rather they not exist because they don't usually work well enough to warrant the budget going toward them, but this one's okay. So articulation on this guy, not bad. Torso is very limited. Neck is okay. Hips are kind of messed up, but otherwise it's fine. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Nothing crazy, but it should get the job done. On this side, you'll have more limitation in the wrist, of course, because of the gauntlet, but it is the same joint as right here. Alright, so final verdict on this guy. Honestly, the armor and the helmet, the paint job, the sculpt work on that, even the clothing down here, it's all so good. It saves this guy a lot. Like, a whole lot. The bad paint job doesn't make up for the good paint job. It's still going to get a decent score. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 7 out of 10. It would be so much higher if I could just rate the good parts, because those are all like, those individual pieces are like 10 out of 10. The head, 10 out of 10. Armor right here, 9 out of 10. Things like that. This piece, 10 out of 10. But there's all this other 2 out of 10 sections where they screwed up the paint and screwed up all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's the final verdict. 7 out of 10. It's still a worthy purchase if you just want him to stand there and look cool, because he's definitely going to do that. But posing's going to be limited, and there are some serious paint issues. A repaint on this guy would be, it would do wonders for the figure. But that's not what we review, so that's the way it goes. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.